as it gets.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 3rd meeting of the Bethany City Council. I'll call the meeting to order. Would you please stand for the invocation by Councilmember Larson and remain standing for the flag salute, please.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come tonight before you and those that live here in the city in Bethany, I ask that you gave us wisdom, that you give us understanding, and that you guide us in the decisions that we are to make. I pray that you be with each of our families as we're away from them. I pray that our city is a good representation of what you would have us to be. I'm thankful for you, dear Heavenly Father, and for the work that you do in our city and that you do in our lives. I pray that you'll be with us, be with those that are grieving, are ill, and battling illnesses or diseases that only you can have a hand in, and give them the peace and the understanding and the healing that you see fit. Be with us tonight, dear Heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. The first item on the agenda is the consent docket. We have items 1A through C. Do any of those need to be pulled or addressed separately? If not, I will take a motion on the consent docket as a whole.
I make a motion to approve this.
And by the way, there is, looks like amended claims showing payment on the fire truck. So approved as amended. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
is this our last payment we made on those fire trucks?
That I can't answer. I think this, okay, so we still, this is not our final payment. We still have money we owe them. We have a punch list of some items on the trucks that need to be finished, and I guess we're retaining that money until such a time as that
Right. As
happens.
soon as Chief Hunter gives us a word that every one of the punch list items have been taken care of, then we will go ahead and remit the remainder, which is 30,
5%, about 36,000.
about 36,000.
Perfect.
Will that handle the punch list?
Oh,
You were astute enough to make sure that happened, right?
well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. Thought it was a good move, though.
Okay, good. I don't want anything left off of those fire trucks. They're just beautiful. I must admit, you must have had an artist go down and make a conceptual drawing of what you wanted. Because they're great looking trucks.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second for the consent docket. Please post your votes. Mr. Shirey?
Shirey.
Thank you. Item 2 is call to the public. If any member of the audience wishes to address the council, please step forward to the podium. First state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone care to address the council? Hearing or seeing none, I'll move on to item 3, which is a public hearing item. It's consideration and possible award of a wrecker referral license to applicants Bob Rogers Wrecker Service and Twister Towing as appropriate. Steve?
This is an annual renewal of the wrecker license. Again, this is a yearly event. We have 2 that have applied. Ordinance requires that they are checked out by Public Works, and that they have their DPS licensing, and all of that has been fulfilled. Chief Cole wanted me to pass on that the police department is very happy with both of the wreckers, and so I would like to request that you approve the licenses.
The recommendation here says to conduct the public hearing and award the record referral license. You really just want us to award the license, right?
I
This
think
is the
there is
public
a-
hearing.
This is a
Correct.
public hearing, so if anyone in the public would want to speak, this would be the time for them to do it.
And I will open up for public comment if there is any. Council, any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to award the referral licenses to applicants Bob Rogers Wrecker Service and Twister Towing?
I recommend that we award record referral license to Twister Towing and Bob Rogers Garage and Towing Service.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 4, also a public hearing item, consideration and possible action to accept an amended comprehensive plan for the city of Bethany. This item is on tonight's agenda because it was posted in the paper that it would be. However, P&Z tabled the item, waiting for some more information. So we would recommend, council, that we table this item as well tonight, awaiting a recommendation from P&Z.
And that item, that date that's actually listed on your agenda is incorrect. An amended agenda was posted yesterday morning that shows the correct date of, I believe it's June the 7th. Is that the first meeting in June? June 7th at 7:30.
At 7:30 rather than 7?
That's a city council meeting.
Oh, 7:30.
Will we be required to do anything as far as advertising this?
No, that's the purpose of continuing this, because we've already advertised. This was actually advertised as a public hearing tonight. I don't see a room full, but maybe they'll be back here on the 7th.
So this is going to go to planning and zoning? This is where it's going to continue as a,
It actually goes to the planning and zoning again. It's already been through them once.
okay, so that'll
It'll
be
go
on
back
June-
on May the 19th.
Oh, May the 19th, okay, at 7.
Yes.
You need a motion to,
Continue this item to June the 7th at 7:30 PM.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to continue until June 7th, 2016 at 7:30 PM. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 5, once again, a public hearing item, consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1914 by amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bethany, Oklahoma, Title 15, by amending Section 155.07 of the Landscaping Ordinance to address redevelopment. 5A is consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1914 on reading by title only. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for reading by title only. Please post your votes.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bethany, Oklahoma, Title 15 by amending Section 155.07 pertaining to landscaping requirements for land development and redevelopment, providing for purpose, definitions, requirements, required area of landscaping, landscape materials and plan, landscape plan contents, maintenance and enforcement, repealer, codification, and severability, and declaring an emergency. In this ordinance, as I'm sure you picked up, all of the new language is shown in bold type, and this ordinance has 4 enacting sections. It has a separate Section 5, which is the emergency clause. I think there's a staff report from Danielle on this item as well.
Good evening. As you remember, back in February, we heard this originally from Planning and Zoning for recommendation to have a landscaping ordinance. And based upon the discussion from City Council, it was asked to relook at it for remodeling and redevelopment, as well as what to do if there was a building permit that was going to be required. So based on that, P&Z sat down, as well as with David Davis and myself, kind of looked through the ordinance and put in some wording to address the redevelopment and remodeling aspects of it, and also had a clause in there if they decided that they did not want to follow the ordinance of what they would need to do in that case as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Is there any reason that this needs an emergency action?
Not to my knowledge.
I will tell you, just as a matter of course, it's always added to an ordinance in case you decide you want one. But the fact that it's there doesn't necessarily mean that staff thinks it's an emergency.
I guess another question is whether or not we use the emergency clause, if they filed for a permit now, they wouldn't fall underneath this regardless, I guess.
This ordinance would not, if you don't pass the emergency, this ordinance would not be in effect for 30 days.
So if they've already filed a building permit, then they wouldn't fall underneath this.
It would depend on how far they had gone. If they've submitted plans and they've been approved, they probably would not. If they had plans that had not yet been approved and they weren't approved until after the ordinance became effective, they probably would be subject to it. It's a question of probably more than you wanted to know, but the issue is, do they have vested rights in the plan that they submitted prior to the ordinance? And it depends on how far they've gone with it to determine whether they have vested rights or not.
What's your recommendation on the emergency clause? Necessary?
I don't know of anything that's pending, but, this applies to remodeling. One could come up tomorrow. I don't know when it might come up, but, it's my thought that, the sooner you put an ordinance into effect, the easier it is for staff to administer without having to keep track of, what happens when. And, that'd be my recommendation, but it's up to you.
If I might jump in here, the fact that somebody may have done a lot of work on making a project, putting a project together, and this comes up because it becomes a ordinance at 12 o'clock tonight, or when we adjourn. If we vote the emergency clause, it does not, or it does. We do not vote the emergency clause, it does not. So we give them 30 days. And if somebody has done a lot of work on putting together a plan that they want to submit to us between now and then, and I realize that we were working on this, it would be kind of counterproductive to our efforts to increase business in Bethany. And I always have thought that these plans that we put in and then institute within 4 hours after we walk out of this chamber is not being very fair to the people who possibly could want to do something with that ordinance.
Could they not, if we pass the emergency clause, would they not, by virtue of H in here, Attorney Davis, if they took exception to what they're going to do with the landscape, landscape ordinance is calling for, they have an alternative to go that route?
Yeah, two different routes. One, if they didn't want to comply with the area requirements, that would come to you as an appeal. If they didn't like the kind of landscaping that staff recommended, that would go to the Board of Adjustment.
So they have an out. And
Yeah,
if staff
they
has
have
something
a
that they're
legal out,
looking
too.
at, if they're looking at, then we can go ahead and get this in the motion for staff.
Do we need to rush this through?
Well, we did on other ordinances.
Or do we need to, this is the ordinance that we're voting on at the present time. Do we need to do that?
I think that it needs to be investigated.
I've seen ordinances rush through and then we sit around and put salt and pepper on them and eat them. Because we were too hasty in our judgment to get it on the books.
We agree or we disagree with the ordinance, and if we don't agree on it, we don't pass the ordinance, then the
We passed
emergency
the
clause
ordinance.
will be moot.
I agree on the ordinance. But what I'm saying, I'm definitely going to vote for the ordinance to be instituted. But I think we need to allow people that may be out there working on submittals to have an opportunity after knowing full well that if what they have done up to this time is not acceptable.
Could, without naming projects that are in operation right now that this would affect, how many are we talking about? If we were to pass the emergency clause tonight, how many projects would it affect?
I believe as of right now.
Do we know?
And Steve might be able to better answer that one.
We don't know about a project till they submit it. So, right now, the submitted projects are one, but it wouldn't matter, it's not a redevelopment. Remember, the landscape ordinance is already in effect. This is just for redevelopment and remodel. So a new project, this won't have anything, they were already under that, and the one I'm talking about would have already been under that.
So it's not going to be,
We're talking a major remodel where they
Yeah.
kick the site plan ordinance into effect. I mean, we're talking a pretty major, you're talking 50%.
I mean, if you're adding 10% under the current law, that requires a site plan. So now this is 50%, so
Right.
it's even more major remodel than that. So, are you aware of any other than the one that's under review? Or actually, it's two, but they're both the same entity. Yeah. Okay.
okay, thank you.
But I personally understand that there's a group here that is working on a project that has not been submitted. And they're working on it, and although they have been working on it a while.
I understand your feeling.
And as you probably all are very aware, that I just don't believe in emergency clauses. I believe we've become a group of people who take deliberations in what we do, not jump to conclusions.
There you go. There you go.
I was unaware you did not like emergency clauses,
Oh,
Mr. Carter. Thank you for sharing that tonight.
Would you get a magic marker out and I'll attach it somewhere?
We're going to need to mark that down. That's I learn something new every day. All right, item 5B is consideration and possible approval of sections 1 through 4 of ordinance number 9. I'm sorry, this is a public hearing item. Let me open the public hearing up first. Anybody wishes to address the council on this item, please step forward to the podium. Hearing or seeing none, item 5B, consideration and possible approval of sections 1 through 4 of ordinance number 1914. Do we have a motion?
So,
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. 5C, consideration and possible approval of section 5 of ordinance number 1914, the emergency section. Do we have a motion? I'll ask one more time. Is there a motion for the emergency section? Hearing none, that will die for lack of motion. Item 6 is consideration and possible approval of plans and specifications for replacement windows and doors for the fire station and authorize staff to solicit bids. Steve?
The fire station is nearing completion. They've been working on it now for a little while, and they would like to replace the windows, and they would like to go out to bid to do it. The windows in the facility are ancient. They've been their original equipment. I have been told that they actually have places in them where they are actually broken. The aluminum has worn itself out. If you have any questions, Chief Hunter is here to answer your questions.
Council members, any questions of staff?
I don't have a question, but I asked about those windows when you were doing the remodeling, and I think it's about time.
They're the original windows. They have served us very well, and at this point, they are dilapidated to the point that we got to get the windows and doors replaced. So we can get another 3 or 4 decades out of that building, but not unless we do the replacement.
He apologizes for the lateness of this, but he's been kind of busy with new trucks and stuff like that. So,
How are we going to?
Have we done any study on the cost savings that probably, I certainly do hope these are double windows of not environmental, but
Low E and argon?
yeah, low loss or gain, low loss heat gain and heat gain on those. Are they those type of windows?
Yeah, yes. Even I had the insight to.
Well, now, Chief, you're just chiding me right now, and
No, I was paying back that compliment you gave me.
okay, thank you
No,
very much.
we did. We've got single pane glass over there, no
Yes.
insulation. The
I know.
lower panels are very poorly insulated. The new glass will be double pane glass, argon filled. The best, I think it's the best window on the market that we can get based on what we're paying for them. We're looking at somewhere probably between $45,000 and $50,000 for total replacement. It's a very good window, and again, I think it'll serve us for many, many years. Very efficient. I've got I can supply you with all the specs for that, if you would like, as far as reflectivity, thermal balance, and all the other things that are above my level of understanding.
I'm a big believer in being cost-conscious of saving energy.
They are very energy efficient. That was one of the reasons for picking that
But there was one thing in
particular
here
style.
that says windows and doors. We're not talking about overhead doors that go into the bays.
Just entry doors.
Just entry
3
doors.
entry doors. 2 on the back, well, actually 4, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom.
Okay.
I've got one question. On soliciting bids, I just went through this in my own house, and I've come to find out there are hundreds of people selling windows. Are we going to solicit from Bethany people, or?
Well, they have to meet the specific bid specifications on the windows that we want: frames, type of glass, thickness of glass, again, the conductivity,
Was the spec being written around just 1 or 2 people that can supply them is what I'm getting at, or is there?
It'll be
Well, there's
advertised in the newspaper, and I'm sure he has a list of people that want to be mailed bids, notices, and it'll
Yes.
probably be done as
And I'll be
well.
honest with you, Mr. Moore, the bids were very precise, so we don't have every guy that's selling vinyl-clad and plastic windows that I've got to spend the next 3 weeks just the phone ringing off the hook. Well, I got the greatest window in the world. What's it made out of? Well, it's a high-quality plastic, or it's a wood, and we're looking at the high-grade commercial applications. And yeah, they were written very, very tight and very stringent. There's a couple of manufacturers that can meet the specs. There's a lot of people that install for those manufacturers, so we're not limited to a sole source or even a few. I don't know, we may get 3 or 4 bids, we may get 20. When we put these out to bid, they go to some of the brokers that actually watch what's going in for notice, and they put it out to all their contractors, so we could get a large number of bids conceivably.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to thank you for the meticulous documentation that you provided us. I mean, it's amazing how much detail.
Well, you do understand that I don't necessarily understand everything that's in those documents. I had to rely on professionals
Well,
that
neither
gave
did
me good counsel. And I think that we've spec'd the best possible window to provide efficiency, longevity, the aesthetics I think are going to be, it's going to change the entire complexion of the building. If you look at the building now, you'll notice there's glass, and those bottom panels are solid panels, and they're painted red. So that requires a certain amount of maintenance. The new glass, there will be a porcelain panel on the bottom, but it appears to be glass from the exterior. It has the durability from the interior so that they're not broken. We can still push furniture and things up against them, but from the exterior, they look just like the glass. So cosmetically, it's going to be great. We should get a lot of years out of them, and I think they're as efficient as we could get. I mean, you could obviously go with another pane of glass and up your R ratings, but you may not be able to ever recover your cost based on the experts that I've talked to.
Any other questions, council members?
I don't want to stir anything up here.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Shire.
That's quite all right. Are they going to be tinted or?
Yes.
Some sort of a tint, good.
Yes. And again, that will help with the efficiency.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion on item 6?
I move approval of the plans and specifications for the replacement windows and doors for the fire station and authorize staff to solicit bids.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Larson had a second. Any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Item 7 is consideration and possible approval of an automatic mutual aid agreement between the City of War Acres and the City of Bethany. Steve?
This is an agreement between War Acres and Bethany. We've had this agreement for a long time. This is just a matter of cleaning the agreement up. There's no major changes. It's just an update. But if any of you are wanting to know the specifics of it, Chief Hunter is dying to tell you about it. So if you have any questions, please ask away. But it's nothing that we haven't had in the past, so.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Check.
All right. Any questions or discussion? Please post your votes.
You told me today in your office that you had everything, in my office, you had everything planned and you were ready to go. And I just thought you wanted to really tell me. Okay.
Item 8 is the city attorney's report, David.
All my items are listed on the agenda.
All right, thank you. Item 9 is the city manager's report.
I just have a couple of quick things. Number one, the park. We are down to the point to where we are going to be burning just a little bit left. The burning part will be done by the end of the week. The rest of it will probably be put in dumpsters and hauled away because there's nothing left to burn but just junk that's fallen off of the tree limbs and stuff like that. This has been a terrible process. It has been, the city crews have handled it quite well. But we are very glad that it's over. We are going to keep it fenced to protect the area till we're sure that everything has been tamped down properly. They are going to clean it, probably going to have to put down some sod in certain areas. They're going to seed it, they're going to fertilize it, and but they're going to keep the fence up for a little bit just to protect it. And as soon as it gets a good grass growth going, they're going to pull the fence down, and hopefully no one will even know what had happened, the nightmare that happened there. And but our guys did fantastic. I mean, I think we're going to have a council appreciation night one of these days and have them all come in here so y'all can give them a standing ovation. And I have one other thing. We are still in need of lifeguards, Bethany, so tell all the people of any age to come on in, and we will put them to work if they can be a lifeguard.
Any age above 16.
Any age above 16, correct. Any age above 16, and we will put them to work. We need lifeguards. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Item 10 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. Councilmember Harris, I'll start with you tonight.
Well, I think we all got the notice on the city manager search, and I was very impressed that we had 30 applicants. So we'll be going through that process, but that's incredible.
Is that it? All right, Councilmember Holloway?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to say thank you once again to Public Works for all their efforts in the cleanup. I know it's been a long process for the storm, and I just thank each one for all their hard work.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Moore?
Thank you. I'd echo that. The park's looking good. I went through there the last few days, and it's shaping up. Also, the fire truck, Mr. Shire's right. I was just at my office before I came in here, and the fire truck was next door, and the guys have you got a brand new truck. You got a good bounce in your step, and the truck looks great. It seems like it's doing a great job. And the city, it reflects really good on the city, too. But keep up the good work. That's all I got.
Councilmember Larson?
I too am grateful to Public Works for their due diligence, and I know it's been a long time coming, and maybe even longer than maybe we thought, but it looks great. And what I've seen already where they've moved, the grass has already started coming back up, and we keep these nice rains coming, it's going to grow pretty fast. I'm excited about that. And in response to Ms. Harris's remark about the applications for our city manager, I'm excited about that. City's moving right now. We have a lot going on, and I think that's a good thing. I'm very grateful for staff and the changes and rearrangements that we've had to do while we're waiting to hire the new city manager, and your attitudes and being able to work with you. I thank you very much. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Herron?
Thank you. I have nothing tonight.
Councilmember Shirey?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our city commissioner of not planning and zoning, but the Board of Adjustment's wife had a serious accident last night. And she broke her leg. And less than 3 months ago, she had a knee replaced, and it was on the same leg. And I would like for everybody in the city of Bethany to be thinking about her. I visited her today, and she's in quite a bit of pain, and they're going to try to do something to it, and it's very serious. The next thing I have to bring up is we're all very much aware of what's been going on around us, particularly in cities that are around us. And I would like to see the city start some training and procedures for city expenditures so that we take these procedures that we have had for years and years and make sure that they're absolutely followed to the letter. And the people that write these or that carry these procedures out should talk to the people that works for them and make sure that they totally understand what we want done. Because procedures are the only thing that keeps people out of trouble. And I do not want the city of Bethany to get into a bad light on these procedures. And we all know what they are, we all know where they come from, and I don't need to bring that up, but I just think that we need to do everything possible to make our city a first-class city, and that would be one of the things that I would do if I were operating this. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Knapp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been seeing these beautiful new fire trucks every time I drive by there. More importantly, they're very functional. And Chief, thanks for your going back months ago and even beyond that, just getting prepared to get those fire trucks. hope that they provide a long and positive service, not only for the people that are operating them, but the people that they're serving, our citizens. Thank you. And lastly, this is National Teachers Week. I don't know if anybody knew that, but being married to a teacher it gives me a special place. But we've all had the teachers from kindergarten on that really just loved us in their classrooms and took care of us when we had a scraped knee or whatever. They do a great service for every person in this country, and just want to thank all the teachers out there. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing tonight. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany City Council? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn until May 17th, 2016. Without objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Public Works Authority. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 2 is consideration and possible approval of water treatment plant quicklime bid specifications and authorize staff to solicit bids. Do we have such a motion on that, trustees?
So approved. So moved, excuse me.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Public Works Authority? Hearing none, if there is no objection, we will adjourn until May 17th, 2016. And without objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Hospital Trust. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Hospital Trust? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn until May 17th, 2016. And without objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Development Authority. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Second. Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Development Authority? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn until May 17th, 2016. And without objection, we are adjourned.